Hey people, Fernando doing another video for More Survivalists, and this is gonna be a review after 4 years of good, honest, hard use of the Glock knife. I have a couple Glock knives here. This one is the model 78, the one that has a straight back, and this is the 81, right, with the serrations. And as you see, it has a lot of wear there in the edge, so I'm giving you feedback after giving it a whole lot of hard use over the years. Now, of course, I'm kidding. These are not the ones. These are I barely use. I actually think this one is never been used before. This one has maybe cut a few things, but the one that I've really used for 4 years now is this one. This is the Glock 78 that I've been using, and I'm doing this video because I see that there's quite a bit of reviews about the Glock knife. Someone picks it up, starts cutting something, maybe smashing a rock or cutting a water bottle or cutting something. There's not a whole lot of people that have used it honestly for a number of years, and I've done just that. All of this wear that you see here, none of this has been done in torture tests. I haven't tried to break the knife at all. I've only used it like a junkyard dog, like something mostly for splitting wood, for batoning wood for the fireplace over a few years now, and several winters, and whenever I need to start a fire, anything. I mean, I've used this for mixing paint when nothing better was around. I mean, it's not a big deal. You just use it for that kind of silly things as well. I've dropped it a few times, broke or chipped the tip, and reprofiled it with a Dremel. So this is based on really just using the knife without any concerns for preserving it in any way. There's not a whole lot of that with some of the higher end knives. I see some people that just buy a knife, destroy it just to see how much it can take, and yeah, you can get some information from that. Now, having said all this, what is it that I've learned over the years? Well, it's still a fantastic knife. Back in the day, I said it's probably the best survival knife for the money, and I'm saying that having my own knife right there in the background. This is my own knife, designed by myself, made by Aitor in Spain. Fantastic knife. I love this thing, and I've been giving it a whole lot of use. Not that one specifically, but this prototype model that I've been using, and I used for a destruction test, which it survived, so I couldn't fully destroy it. It came down to the point where I just needed to find somewhere to hold it and just apply leverage until it snaps. But given that it survived so much, I just put a little handle on it and kept on using it just to test and see exactly what you can put it up to. And this is one of the knives I've been using a whole lot. Now, maybe one of the first most evident things is that when you have stainless steel, you don't have to worry about the finishing peeling off or rust and that sort of stuff, which with 1095, yeah, that is a little bit of a thing. Again, I didn't remove anything here on purpose. I could have just scrapped it a little bit so as to give it some of that patina that some guys go for. No, all of this is just natural wear and tear from not any kind of destruction test, never trying to break it, but yeah, not being careful about smashing through whatever log I thought I could just get this link through. And as you see, yes, of course, that's a little bit of a thing. I'm surprised by it not having more rust than it has. At some point, it did get a little bit more rusty. Not a big deal. You just clean it and oil it a little bit. Again, kind of thing that you don't worry about with quality stainless steels that still hold an edge as much or even quite a bit more than your basic 1095, and rust will not be a concern. Now, the Glock knife being a bayonet knife intended for military use. This is not like so many marketing gigs that you see in the knife business. Oh, this is the one that tactical. No, this is really what it's been made for the Austrian military. This is really based on a number of daggers and combat knives used by numerous special forces around the world, which somewhat have the same blade profile. It's always about having a somewhat longish, narrow-ish, pointy blade, which is good for stabbing. Given that it's a bayonet, it's 1095 tempered to 55 Rockwell hardness. And I guess that's one of the more interesting points. You see a lot of 1095 knives, you know, you see it used by SC knives, they use 1095 quite a bit, Becker knives. So you see a lot of knives that use 1095, which there's nothing wrong with 1095, it's perfectly fine. But sometimes they go for hardness that are not all that ideal for a survival knife. This is, for me, the better survival knife in terms of how hard it is. How hard is it? Well, not a whole lot. I mean, 55 Rockwell hardness, it's still decently sharp. It will hold decently enough on edge, but of course, not as much as a 57, 58. For example, these, the Aitor ones, these are going for 57, 58 Rockwell hardness, and you can tell that it just holds an edge quite a lot more. It's not just about the tempering, it's about the steel as well. This is N680, this is N690, which is very similar. Both of these are quite similar in terms of edge retention after use. This is not on that league, right? But the price, of course, is completely different. This is a $35 knife. These you're talking about 180, which is still a great deal. I mean, I'm not even saying it because I was involved in the design of the knife. I'm just saying it because it is what it is. If you look at the Falcon Evans, which use VG10, which is very similar to your N680, N690s in terms of edge retention and toughness. Actually, N680 is a lot tougher than N690 or VG10, which is why I wanted this steel for the production knife. Again, very similar in terms of the edge retention, and at the end of the day, given the amount of steel that you have in like a full tang knife, I mean, anything that you bend strong enough, you know, anything that you apply enough leverage, you'll break it sooner or later. And even if you don't break it at the first attempt, if you gave it a little bit of a more spring tempering, which is the case of the Glock, you just move it back and forth, and eventually the fatigue will cause that blade to break. But I do appreciate the price point. I do appreciate the basic elemental design of just a sharp, long blade with a well-designed handle, how strong it is in spite of being a short, narrow tang, which in theory should be one of the worst designs in terms of tangs for your blade, yet it is so damn strong, mostly because of this Glock plastic that it has. And when it comes down to the steel, yes, it is not nearly as nice as your stainless steel because you have to look into keeping it from rusting and this kind of wear in something like that. It's not an issue. But for example, little things as I use it for maybe chopping through a bigger log that has maybe some dirt in it, some grains of sand in there. Yes, the wear, you will notice it. You will see that the edge starts to go a little bit quicker. But at the same time, it is so much faster. Just strop it a couple times and you're back to a very nice edge, which is shaving sharp. This thing, as it is right now, shaves, which it is surprising. You compare it to some of the other knives that you have around there, and no matter how much of a nice knife you have, no matter how much of a nice steel you're talking about, once you use it enough, it will no longer be razor sharp. That just the way it is with knives. But this thing, just a little bit of sharpening, I'm back. No matter what I put it through, I'm back to razor sharpness. Given how soft it is, and when I mean soft, this is not butter. This is not gonna be, I mean, you can carve wood, cut a couple logs, and it will still be pretty sharp for most practical uses. But for example, the spine was not, the spine is a little bit rounded, not ideal for fire steels. You just get a file, and in no time whatsoever, you have a sharp angle for you to use your fire steel. The edge was not all that nice. You probably see it. All of these are not exactly high-end finishing, so the edge may not go fully fully down there. I mean, it wasn't that for this one. So I just took a file and gave it a little bit more of a reprofiling down to, you know, as low as I could go in the blade. So all of these things, because of the price range, because of, yeah, 1055, 1095 with this hardness, it's easy to just, you know, modify yourself a little bit, reprofiling the tip, all of these things with a blade that has a, you know, higher end steel that is 60 Rockwell hardness will not be nearly as easy. Anyway, guys, just a few things to keep in mind. After 4 years of honest use, not any kind of, you know, destroying stuff like anything like that, but honest use over the years, I still recommend it, you know, fully. It's for the price, especially. You can buy a couple of these for different kits. It's a great knife to have around. Will it have the weight to chop like a, you know, a bigger, fancier, more expensive knife with, you know, basically more steel on it? Of course not. The weight of this thing is unlike this one, but then it comes down to how easy it is to move around, how lightweight it is. When you don't want to drag around a pile of crap with you, this is a great knife. And finally, maybe one of the things that I appreciate the most, the sheath. The sheath is so damn fantastic. These things just snap into place and you forget about it. That's great. That's something that I really like. Best sheath around, you know, great. Anyway, folks, if you're interested in survival and preparedness, as I say in all of my videos, Street Survival Skills would be the first book for you to get, giving all of those basic things regarding self-defense, street smarts, a lot of stuff learned over the years. And for the financial stuff, you have Surviving the Economic Collapse, #1 selling Argentine history book right now in Amazon, so that's quite cool. The links for these are going to be there below, and I see if I can leave a link for the Glock knife. I think that the one available in Amazon in US currently is the serrated model. These ones are a little harder to get, the model 78, which, you know, maybe it's the one I like the most, but, you know, very similar at the end of the day, not all that different. Folks, see you in the next video. Take care.